I have a little lesson for you today because I have a job that has to have some extra retouching done. I thought it was done, so I'm going to show you the original, the pre-retouched present image, and then the one that the clients want, which, because it's going to be large, needs extra work. So I'm going to go and do that for you today. Quite simple, but this is how nitpicky we can be. I'm going to show you first on my screen here another example of the levels of retouching that I offer that perhaps you can too. And we'll start with an image that is not fully retouched. Okay, here we go. So we're starting with an image that is raw or out of the camera or just processed but has no retouching. This is going to be a lovely portrait. It's a Head and Shoulders business portrait, but nothing's been done. Now, the first level I have on retouching, I call it limited edition or LE, and it definitely is limited, but it is nice. It works well for children that don't need a lot of touch-up, but when you have a beautiful person or an older adult, you certainly want to offer more. But here is the limited edition retouching. As you can see, I'll go back one more time. You've got a lot of surface, wear and blemishes and a hair, and you've got the smile lines and just things that need to be fixed up. And in this little bit of retouching, what we call the limited edition, it's fixed up, and this would pretty much please anybody. And it's got mostly cleanup, but not a lot of enhancement. So I'm going to show you next here the image that is full-blown signature, which means after we've done all this initial work, we then look how to pump it up and make it really gorgeous. So here is the signature version of the same image. It's got a little bit of eyeshadow. It's got some beautiful shading on the cheeks and chin. It has extra contrast in the eyes. And we also push the cheeks in, or the jowls in, just a little bit, taking you back. This is a retouched image, and it's very, very nice. But just watch how the eyes have changed. It's really just more contrast. All right? Skin is smoother, and that can be done a number of ways. The big thing, though, is then the face is slim just a little bit. Not like she needs it, but it does help everybody. So there we go. We have our fully retouched image. I'm going to take it back. The unretouched, the retouched, and the fully retouched and enhanced. And very glamorous, very beautiful, but it is the same person. Nothing has been made into fantasy. It is just a gorgeous retouch of this young lady. Next, I'm going to take you to the image that I recently sold. I think you probably saw the session on YouTube because we did photograph it or video it. And I'm going to take you now to one of the selections that's going to be made pretty large and therefore needs to be retouched extremely thoroughly. So here is the first image processed from the raw. As you can see, it was done with a little bit of fan action here, giving it some life. It actually just was used more or less to kind of perk up the subject. And if you saw the video, you saw that. This particular pose and mood was the one that they really liked. Here's the retouched one that I showed the client. And it's super pretty. The hair is still flying, all right? And I thought generally it's polished up very nicely. And what they wanted, though, was that one hair removed because it's more of a classical portrait than a exciting, fashionable kind of a young person shot. So therefore, we took that hair out, and it's going to be a square image, a large square, so we opened it back up again. Now, here's the tricky thing, is when you're going to make it large, you got to look at it really closely. So here, we're going to zoom in a little bit here, and see, it looks really nice. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. But if the print's going to be this size, we have to go bigger to find all the little things that need to be fixed up. And for instance, I like these hairs right here can be removed. If you can see that there's a hair right here, which is creating white on the tip of the nose and dark here above the lip. There's another hair there, another hair there, another hair there. Now it's not going to be this large, but this will make a difference. Let's see if there's more. Yeah, there's some hairs here that could be taken care of. Let's zoom out a little bit. So as long as you can see those things, we want to go ahead and fix them up. Yeah, a few of these need to be cleaned up as well. These here are definitely offensive to me. And there may be a few other things that we need to fix as well. I'm not in love with this little curvy spot here under the arm, even though it's very natural and normal. And I might even look for a way to take this little flip of hair and have it go the opposite way. We'll see. Depends on how I feel about it when I get to it. But that's what I want to share with you today, that we have to fix this up, and we're going to do it right now. Now, of course, I'm using a tablet, Wacom tablet. This is a 5 and 205, I think, that I use, and I go through them. Every couple years I need a new one. I just kind of wear them out. In 2.0's pen, works great. And we're going to go ahead and get out of this viewing program and open this image in Photoshop. All right, in Photoshop now, let's go take care of those must-dos right here. One of the tools, there's another one right there. One of the tools that I like is really the spot healing, because it can certainly get rid of things that don't belong. Like this first hair, well done. Another piece of hair, another piece of hair. And you know what it's doing is it's taking, it's basically cloning, but it's bringing it from the adjacent area and just writing right over the thing that is different. And of course, that's the hair in this case. So this is right here, the spot healing brush. And you can change a lot of its aspects, but I just use pretty much the default and change the working size. Now that we get into it, boy, you can see all kinds of hairs are remaining, right? So we're just going to go ahead and try. If you ever get a stroke that you do that doesn't pay off, I shouldn't say whenever, but you will have strokes that don't come out as predicted, and you just need to do them over again. But so far, these are working well. Let's get these hairs out of there. A couple of freckles. There we go. All right, so far that looks pretty good. And this one is a little different. I'm going to do some of the healing brush in here, but I think I'm going to have to use a soft cloning brush to kind of push away some of this stuff. I'm going to do as much as I can with this tool because it is good. All right, so we're just removing those hairs. And I do skip around a little bit because you don't want to get buried in a little detail area. You want to get everything while you're thinking about it. And I hope you can see these. I can see them quite easily on this magnification, where I never did on my first retouch. Okay. Let's take a close look at this and see how we want to treat it. There's a lot of ways to do it, and my way is far from the only way. So if you've learned this elsewhere and you want to try something different, that's cool. I think I'm going to go to a cloning tool here, and I'll start at like 40% or something like that. And I'm just going to pull into the adjacent area very, very softly. When you're cloning, it's all about your source selection more than anything. Size is important, opacity is important, but where you get your color and density from or structure is probably the most important in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and raise the opacity a little bit, up to 50. I'm doing is pulling adjacent tone, texture, color, whatever, to try and get rid of some of this hair. And I think it's looking pretty good. Yeah. And let's make that, oh, that's where the hair was blowing, remember? And it's not anymore, so we're just going to take those things out. But in total, this young lady's portrait will probably only have about 30 minutes of total retouching in it. 10 in the pre-sale or less, then a little bit in the post-sale when I took the hairs out. And finally, now that we're getting ready to make our big image, big print, we have to be critical, hypercritical about it. Make sure we get everything. And there's quite a bit left over, as you can tell, of the flying hairs. But let's do a quick liquify. Right here, 0 opacity is usually best for me. I'm going to copy with this lasso tool, the lump right there. Copy and paste. Select again and go to filter, liquify, and I'm just going to push that arm in just a tiny bit, just enough to make it nicer and nobody knows. All right, that looks really much prettier. Let's go ahead and put that layer out just so we can see. All right, there on that arm. Looks nice, very nice indeed. Now, in the face, go back to that layer. As I mentioned, there's a couple spots right here that are really white that I fear will blow out when we print. So one thing we can do is take your eyedropper and just sample some good flesh tone. Shows up down here. Put it on a brush, actually a normal brush will be best because we're trying to build density too. So just take a stroke at it and just see what it does. All right, not bad. Let's undo that. Pretty good. It's all in one stroke so that I can undo it. Now you can use, instead of normal, you can use color, which is very helpful, but you won't build up any density. So that's a tricky thing. Let's see what we can do. I think I'm going to have to clone a little bit. All that flesh is good. This is pretty white here, so I can take it way down. This is still the color, or the paintbrush, rather than cloning. Okay, just taking that down. And very nice. Okay, so what do we do here? Let's use a cloner. Clone brush. Low opacity, 20, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of clean this up a little bit. So we're just bringing in density and color from the adjacent area. We still want it to be a highlight, but we just can't have it be white because it won't print. All right, so she's much cleaner now. And there's again that arm fix, which we'll keep. So let's flatten that out. So you could go crazy enhancing an image. And once again, in this case, we're not making a fantasy piece. We're just changing things to make them prettier. And we can do something like that hair on the bottom. Also see this straight strand too is really kind of nice, but it might be nice to have a little more bend to it. We could try, just for kicks, to see if we can put something a little more attractive into it there. So we'll go to our Liquify again. I've copied, pasted, and reselected. And we're going to look at this and just see if there's a way. And we can throw this away, remember? I just want to see if a little more curvature might be prettier. I think it is. So there's a straight hair. There's the curved hair. I think it's prettier. So now, with that in mind, does that play well with that hair like that? I think it does. I think it helps. So there we go. Oh, I saw something else on this. Let's go ahead and, if you agree and I agree that that's prettier, let's go ahead and just flatten that. Now this is a little trickier, but I didn't notice it till now. The hands need some retouching and the nails need some retouching. So let's look at that. Let's do a quick healing brush first. All right, get rid of that, those little scars, whatever's happening there. Any other marks that we see that we don't like. And then we're going to have to do some nails. All right, not easy, but got to do it. All right, main thing is going to be adding a little highlight on them as if they were shined up, and then maybe clean up the edges if we're able. And I think we can. So let's give it a shot. Start with the far away hand here. All right, and it's possible we could put some color on them too. Let's go ahead and find a pretty color that will work. All right. Let's just try that color. And we're going to put it on a brush. It's currently normal, but we're going to move it to color. Make our brush is small now, so we'll just put some color on and see how it looks. We're not going crazy, we're just adding some color, okay? Just to give it some health and look like it was kind of planned. All right, there we go. So those couple fingers look good. Might be something back there, I'm not sure. Okay, we'll put some color here. Remember, we're going to put a nice shine on it as well, and maybe try to extend the nail a little bit. We'll see if it looks good. This is usually something that's a little difficult to really do. One of the other things we can do to it is within the color, go ahead and clone around a little bit to make it smoother. So let's do that. We'll just kind of smooth a little bit. All right, with the same idea though of coming up with a nice sheen at the end of it all. All right, let's get some pink out of this area though. Right there, it's too pinky. All right, so let's go with a dodge tool first. All right, we're just giving it a little dodge, and we can use a smaller one for the edge, and we'll get to the tips next. We're just trying to emulate a little polishing, that's all. Okay. So what we're going to do here is use the color white on a brush in a normal mode at 11%. I'll try that first. What I want to do is just gently paint a little bit of white at the tip of the nail. Dodging again didn't do it 100% of the way because it also lifted up other tones that are unnatural. So what we're going to be doing here is painting a little white. Let's see how the density is. Oh, that's pretty good. And maybe, yep, add little highlights where we can. Yeah, that's good. All right, and we're just using a little bit of white paint here is what we're doing. That's only at 11% opacity. So, connect that highlight there. Now we're getting bigger, closer nails. We have to be a little more critical. Probably have to put a sharper edge on this. Okay, let's paint it in first, and then we can fix it up. Let's see how big it's going to be. It's not bad. It kind of matches the dress nicely. So I think what we need to do to make it even better is to erase some of the extra pink that's around the nail or on the finger. And one way would be to sample the color from some flesh that is not pink, maybe even to the greenish side. Let's see. Now we'd like to take a little bit of the pink out around the nail on the finger. Let's just go to the opposite and get kind of a greenish color. Of course, not that crazy green, but you know, a little greeny yellow. Let's see if I can find one that will work. And using a very, very low opacity of color. Let's see what it does. Okay, that's working. What we're doing is we're undoing some of the excessive pink that surrounds the nail, like right there. Okay. These two front ones, I think we need to sharpen those up, the edges, because they show off so much here. Pink, green, and the other is pretty good. So the next thing to do, hope you understood what I was doing. I was applying a heavy green color, it's this color right here, against or laying it over the top of that which was too pink. Now what I'm going to do is a sharper edged brush to clean up the front edges of these fingernails, and I think we'll be done. So let's go in nice and tight, and the cloning tool, or the brush was white but I've lost that, so let's use a cloning tool and make it small and make it higher, like 43 turned out, just to see how it works. Let's see if it works for us. I think higher is better. Let's go to 70 and see if we can get an edge out of it, because I'm using a tiny brush to sharpen this whole thing up a little bit. Yep. This little suntan here, I think we should get rid of whatever that is there. You know, we can pull that down with color, or we can just try a little bit of this upper tone onto it gently. Make it a little softer. Get rid of that line. There's nothing wrong with the difference, but you don't want it to be that great, you know. So here's our review: the processed image, the first retouch, and now the final retouch. Looking closely, got all the hairs off the face, put a lovely curve in here, and did her hands, and they are lovely. So there you go. So I hope you found that helpful. This is the kind of thing that we do on pretty much every paying client. I make my selections, I do my initial retouching, then I do another signature level of retouching, and based on the size of the print or portrait, I'll look at it again before I make up a 30-inch or a 40-inch, that kind of thing. So today, we needed to look at this image closer. It looked very nice on screen, and it probably would have looked good in an 8x10, but in a bigger size, it wasn't going to cut it. So that's why we went ahead and went right down into the fingers, took care of that, and every stray hair we could find. So this is just one of the things that we do to try and make our work better. So thanks for being with us today, and hope to see you again here on Tim Kelly's Master Photo Techniques. Thanks a lot.